Now that everybody has had a chance to face a group decision and register their response, we're going to learn more about a framework to improve decision-making. In effect, we've set a baseline. We're going to come back to the Himalayan decision after we've learned some tools to handle it and to see how that helps us move forward. In the next activity, we're going to have what we call the decision demonstration. And if we were all sitting together in a room, I'd be asking for a volunteer. So I'm going to ask for a volunteer now, and I want you to raise your hand if you would be willing to be a volunteer. So did you raise your hand? Are you the kind of person who always raises their hand? Or maybe someone who never raises their hand? It might be a reaction you don't even think about. Or it might be a decision that you can make consciously after assessing the riskiness of the situation. Well, I can't take a volunteer from this group, but what you're about to experience is what happened with a different group and what is consistent with groups that we've done across the nations, whether they are chief executives, teachers, or students. But before we do that, I want you to think about and write down a couple of numbers. First off, if I was going to flip a coin for a $20 bill, what would it be worth for you to play that game? And second of all, if you were in that same situation, but if you lost, you would have to sing in front of a group of your peers, some you knew and some you didn't. What would that be worth to you? Go ahead, write down those numbers, and we'll take a look and see what someone else said when they were on the hot seat. I was very happy to see a lot of people participating. I want to encourage people that are less likely to participate as well. And in that sense, I am looking for a volunteer. Is there someone who would be willing to be a volunteer? For what? See, what would we be volunteering for? Good question. So when you get opportunities to volunteer, do you always get to ask? No? And when something happens that like you wish that you would have been the one that was picked, that never happens. No, you kind of sit on the sideline. All right, well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. All right, okay, let's see some hands. I'll go with Matthew. Come on up, Matthew. Here it is. You're in the hot seat, Matthew. Everybody's looking at you. How do you feel about your decision now? Okay, don't worry about it. It's all good. How would you feel about the decision? Yeah, you're happy that you're not standing in front of the group. And so are there some people that like to be out in front of the group? Yeah, they're ready to go, right? So, so here's the thing, right? It turns out that this is a paid position. So you volunteered, but you got $5 for volunteering. Cool, thanks. Yeah. All right. So how do you feel about the decision now?
Good.
Yeah, less unnerved, right?
Yeah.
That felt good, okay? And so this is what I was trying to get to Sean here. Now, how do you feel about your decision now? It's only $5. Only $5, right? Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about it's only $5. Often when we raise our hands, right? Well, some kids raise their hands because they think then the teacher won't call on me, right? Sometimes when we raise our hands or we don't raise our hands, then we're locked out of an opportunity. And the opportunity that you've purchased by volunteering, Matthew, is we're going to have a little business venture, and you will have the opportunity to win $20. How do you like that? Good?
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Who'd like to earn $20? Okay, now the hands are going up, right? Now we're talking about real money, right? And you know, we're doing this with $20 here with a group of students, but it's also done with CEOs for the same $20. But when they're thinking about these bets, they're thinking about 20,000, 20 million, right? So this is serious stuff. And the same game gets played with all kinds of big execs and different teachers. And so you have the opportunity to win this $20. So you want to do it?
Okay.
Okay? So you ready to go?
Yeah.
You're just like bought in right like that?
Yeah.
Okay? So I think that you need to take some lessons from Yashwan here. Pronounce your name for me. Yashwan. Because you're ready to go, and you don't even know what we're going to do.
No idea.
So what if you had to pay $100 in order to earn this $20?
Probably not.
Oh yeah, I don't want to do that proposition, right? So look, I got you going with the $5, right? You're ready to go with the $5, and here's the 20, right? And suddenly, boom, you trip because there was a $100 penalty for playing that game, right? Well, luckily, that's real life, not here. That's Vegas. We're going to make this an easy game. The way it works is we're going to flip a coin, right? So you could have asked a question like, Sean, what's this all about? We're going to flip a coin for the 20. And if you call it correctly, you get the 20. And if you don't, then you don't get the 20. And it costs you, believe it or not, $5. Okay, now recognize that $5 is yours. It's yours to keep if you want to sit down now. Because you earned it, you volunteered, and that's separate from this game that we're playing for the $20. So you only want to do it if it was rational, right? Now, one last thing. So are you still feeling unnerved?
Not too unnerved.
Not too unnerved. So if you lose, you have to sing a song. Any song you want.
Choose a song?
Get to choose the song. It could be anything you want. I've had teachers up here singing, "I'm a Little Teapot," you know. I'm sure that you can do something better than that. Right? If we had picked Kate, I'm sure that she'd know exactly what she'd like to sing. Right? How does that feel? You feel like you'd want to sing a song, or is that kind of scary to you?
It's kind of scary, but I guess I'll stay at that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, so would you like to play the game now?
Okay.
Okay. So right now it's an okay. Okay. One thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that that okay is a quality decision. So one of the first tools that we're going to learn is a decision tree. And that's going to make all of this clear from an analytical perspective. So the first thing about a decision tree is that the squares are the decisions. And what's the decision that you're facing?
I guess do you flip the coin or do you sit back down?
Right. So play or not. And what happens if you don't play?
I sit back down.
Okay? And so if you sit back down, you don't earn anything. Right? So this is a 0. And it's not a negative, it's not, the $5 is not part of this. That's behind you. You already earned that $5. So what happens if you play?
Then I guess I might take a risk.
Okay, and what's the risk?
Well, I might get $20 or I might lose $5 and have to sing a song.
Okay, so there's an uncertainty, and either you're going to win $20, or you're going to not win and sing. Right? And so in this case, you're calling it correct. And here it's incorrect. Okay? And so what are the odds of calling it correct? 50%, right? Does anybody disagree? Go ahead. Okay? Explain a little bit more about your thinking. Okay? So here you can be the person that takes a look at the coin. Tell us about this coin. What kind of a coin is this? It's just a quarter, right? Now look closely at that quarter. Does it have two heads on it? No. So it's a heads and a tails, like a normal quarter, right? So I know of teachers that actually have gone with the two-headed quarter just to play the game. Make sure you know what you're doing, right? But there are two sides to it, and it can come up one or the other. And it's kind of half of the time you're going to get it right, and half of the time you're going to get it wrong. So that's the 50-50. And you think the world goes against you more often than it goes to you, or what's the rationale? Okay. Go ahead, yeah.
No, I think it's more just like mathematical chances versus like karma or the world rolling against you, because it's a double-sided coin, so you might get heads or you might get tails, and you might call it or you might call her, so it's just 50%, and there's nothing really else to it.
Okay, so that's what we know about coins, right? Is that there's kind of this mathematical assumption of 50-50. But what if it was, for example, betting on whether or not one of your colleagues would answer a true-false question correctly about a movie? Would you like playing that game better than flipping the coin?
I guess it depends on the colleague and the movie.
Okay, right? So there would be information that would go around there. Did you have a comment? Okay, so we've got the mathematical probability here with the coin. We're comfortable about that. But when it starts becoming something that has to do with judgment, we're like, oh, I don't know. Okay, yeah, and there are sort of things where we get in a situation where we think, you know, no matter what, it's coming in for me. So I did this with a bunch of kids at a private school in Moscow. And there was one kid, and I guarantee you that $20 was his. He was Korean, and he was in the game, right? Well, when he had to sing that song in front of the class, he suddenly realized that he had a negative 100 kind of situation. And he closed his eyes. He just barely could do it. But he wanted to play the game again. And it went against him again. And he grabs the coin from me, and he flips it again. He couldn't believe it went against him again. So the odds of it going against you 3 times in a row would be 50% times 50%, which is a quarter or 25%, and 50% of that, which is about 12%. It's about 1 in 10 that would happen to him. He was more in this world of wishful thinking, that it was coming in for him. And as far as I could tell from his life, that's the way things were working, right? If he wanted it, he got it. He was like an oligarch's son, right? Anything that he wanted. But we've got this 50-50 as a way of thinking about it. It's a little bit more difficult with judgment. What about this singing here? So let's imagine that you lost and you had to sing the song. And you could buy your way out of singing the song. Would you like to buy your way out of singing the song?
I guess it depends on how much it would cost.
Okay, so if it was going to cost you $2 to get out of singing in front of the group.
No, I think I'd probably sing.
You'd probably sing. Okay, how about $1?
I guess probably
About $1.
buy
All right, so this is a -1 to you. Okay, is there anybody that wouldn't sing for anything? Everybody, the money is pretty valuable to you. I had a teacher that told me a story where she said that when she was a little girl, her mother asked her to sing really loud in choir because she was going to be in the back and she wanted to hear her. And then afterwards she said, "Dear, don't ever do that again. You sing about as well as I do." And to this day, she is petrified of having to sing in front of people. And I asked her, you know, would you pay $100 to get out? And she was like, no, I wouldn't sing. I just wouldn't. Like any amount of money, she wouldn't sing. So people have different feelings about it. Anybody like to sing? And then Kate. So Kate, would it be worth paying money in order to get out in front of the group to sing? No, that would be crazy. You'd be taking my money, right? Well, there are people that would be in a situation where that might be the case, right? So maybe they want their colleagues to know that they can really sing, and it's just a nice way of doing it. Okay, so the point is that this singing it's intangible. It's not like the money. We know how to value things in money, but when it comes to something like this, people have different preferences. It's a little bit like when you're thinking about buying a car, and you know that the BMW is going to cost more than the Prius, and part of it is a prestige factor, and maybe that prestige means something to you, or maybe it doesn't. But I see a lot of people driving Beamers and Mercedes. Okay, so we can use this structure in order to figure out what's the exact value of this game to you, right? So the way that we do that is we say the value of being in this part of the tree is 20 bucks, and you're going to be there 50% of the time. So what's 50% of 20? That's the $10. Okay, and you're going to be in this world of not winning and having to sing 50% of the time. So what's 50% of that?
3 or -3.
Wait a second. So
Not when you do not expect dollars.
okay, so let's keep our thinking clear, right? There's a reason why I've set it up this way. We can set it up both ways, but we want to be clear about it because you're going to have to pay the $5 up here as well as down here, right? So we're keeping the $5 out. So what's 50% of -1?
Not negative there, negative that.
Right, so minus 0.5, right? Okay, so that would be what? 9.5. Okay, and how much does it cost you?
$5.
All right. Okay, so what's the remaining value?
450.
Okay, so this 450 is a value that has a name. Does anybody know what the name of that 450 is? Okay, this is the expected value. And the expected value is the value that if you played this game over and over again, on average, you would win $4.50 each time. Now, are you expecting to win $4.50?
No, there's not a deposit.
Okay, no, there's never going to be a case where you expect to win $4.50. This is also called the probability weighted average. This is like if you were playing in the casinos in Vegas over and over again. These are the risk-neutral odds, what they would get out of this, the expected value. Right? Is it greater than 0? Okay, so by the way that you've answered these questions, is it rational to play this game?
Yep.
Okay, so and you feel comfortable with it, so you'd like to play the game, right? Is that a good decision?
I guess so.
Anybody think that it's not a good decision? Seems like a good decision? All right. Is there any way you could improve on this decision?
Trick coin.
Well, this is the coin. This is the coin. Is there anybody that, for example, would be happy to sing and wouldn't pay to get out of it? Okay. So all of those people that raise their hands, it would be worth 50 more cents to them. A creative alternative might be to sell this game to somebody else. See how you could do that? Right? Or to partner with somebody else. Right? I'll pay you to sing if I lose. And I've seen all kinds of kids come up with, hey, can I try this? Can I do that? So one of the things that is part of the game is the rules, and that's a thrown frame. But if you think about how can I change the rules to get more value out of this, you might be able to come up with some different ways. All right. So are you ready to do it?
Yep.
All right. So Rocky, will you flip the coin? Matthew, you call it in the air. And Ariel, you announce what it is.
Heads.
Heads it is. All right. So here's one thing that I wanted to point out also because of this. Now, did you have a good or a bad outcome?
Good.
You had a good outcome, right? And so you feel pretty good, right? Now, if you had lost, it would have been a bad outcome. Would you still have felt good?
Well, it's not. Well, I didn't actually start out with anything, so yeah, I guess so.
Okay? So here's one of the key lessons about this whole thing. You made a good decision regardless of what the outcome was. So you could have had a good decision, had a bad outcome, and had to sing, but you should be just as happy about having to sing. If you had the opportunity to do the same game again, you'd want to do it again. And this is what happens to us often in our lives is we go for something and it doesn't turn out. And maybe we will learn the lesson that, well, I'd never do that again because it didn't turn out right. Well, that can be illogical thinking. It can get us into problems because life is uncertain. We've created the uncertain here. But if you learn the wrong thing from the bad outcome when you made the right decision, then you can keep yourself from doing things that make sense. Or, on the other side, if you make a bad decision and you have a good outcome, right? So the one that always comes up is you go out with friends, somebody's been drinking, you get in the car, you arrive safely home. Not the best decision, had a good outcome, right? So you got to keep those two different things clear. And that's kind of the moral of the story. So in this, we learned how to do a decision tree. We had some alternatives. That was play or not play. We had some values, the value of money to win, or the singing, which was intangible. We had information, which was the probability of which way to go. And we were able to come up with a clear analytical solution that told us which way to go. Welcome back. The reason that we do the decision demonstration is because it provides in a toy decision all of the elements of a quality decision that can be applied no matter how complex the decision is that you face. And if you were listening closely, when I summarized, I went through the decision quality framework, the different elements that you'll be learning about more in this course.